Tuning into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to a special edition of the AfterBuzz TV After Show for Sleepy Hollow. Thank you for tuning in, Sleepyheads. If you haven't already, go to youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. Subscribe. Go ahead and help any of the shows that we cover here. We do over 100 a week. We have a roster of over 400 shows and over 300 hosts, so I'm sure you'll find something that you will like. Go ahead and hit us up on iTunes and SoundCloud. And today, we're going to be breaking down Season 2, Episode 17 of Sleepy Hollow, entitled Awakening, with a special guest you may recognize. She plays Holly on the show. Wait, is that? No, oh, sorry. Jenny on the show.
Does it look like she's talking?
A little bit. Guys, we have Lyndie Greenwood in studio. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks.
I'm your host, Stephen Lemieux. You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux throughout the show. Go ahead and tweet us. You can also use the hashtag ABTV Sleepy Hollow, and we'll be taking tweets on there. And if you want, go ahead and use the hashtag AskLyndy, and we'll ask some fan questions at the end of the episode. Jackie, where can we find you throughout the show?
At 123Jackie_B, but I put my phone in my purse, so you probably can't find me during the show. But you can find me after it. I do respond to Twitter. I have a hard time with the multitasking because I then get distracted. Mm-hmm. But also, we're streaming live on YouTube right now, so if you want to check in our live stream now, or which you probably are, actually, but if you want to check in our future live streams, I should say, go to YouTube and AfterBuzz TV Sleepy Hollow.
Zach?
You guys can tweet at me at that Zach Wilson, THATZACHWILSON.
And Lyndie, you're at Lyndie Greenwood.
That's right.
All right.
Simple.
Well, I really like this episode. I mean, I know...
This episode was awesome.
I know.
Awesome!
I don't know if you've noticed the fan response for this season so far. It's been very up and down. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of down, and then there's up, then there's hope, then it's down, then there's up. And this episode capped it with, this is going to be a great end to the season 2, and it makes up for a lot of stuff, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. What did you guys think?
I loved it. I mean, it built and built and built, and I was on the edge of my seat, like, waiting for I wanted stuff to happen because it was intriguing. It was fun. There was darkness, and, like, there was danger.
What happened at the end of this episode is how I felt at the end of Season 1, where I'm like, oh no, you didn't just do that to me. I have to keep watching. I have to keep watching.
So, this episode, we got to talk about Katrina, and we got to talk about Katrina and Henry Parish right now, or Jeremy, as I guess he likes to be called. So Katrina is battling with this whole thing of it's her son, but he's evil, but she saved him, but he's evil, but he killed Moloch, but he's evil.
Mostly he's evil.
Mostly evil.
Just listen to his voice. It's clearly.
I know.
I love.
He's got such a deep baritone.
He's just got
he's so
daddy
great.
issues, guys.
And he's got.
Don't we all?
He doesn't have evil glasses. He has Harry Potter glasses. I was going to say he has evil glasses, but he doesn't.
Well, they may not look evil, but when you get down to it and you find out the backstory of the glasses,
They're actually
very,
quite
very
evil. They were worn by Hitler.
Oh, jeez.
My goodness.
We just went there.
But, so we see that Katrina is using this spell on a rose to see where Henry is, because she still doesn't really quite know if it was a dream or not, because there's all sorts of hallucinations and stuff, and Purgatory likes to grab them and throw them random bones where you don't even know what happened or not. And it's like, bring my family close to me, is I believe kind of what the spell she was talking about is, dripping blood on the black rose that Henry left. And he just walks in the door. Like, I don't think it required a spell to find him. He's just like, hey.
He's like, hey, Mom, took you long enough.
It's good to see that you're trying to look for me, but I'm alive.
I'm right here.
I've been waiting outside the door for you to say my name, is basically what he was saying.
Jamming out to Beyonce or Destiny's Child.
Why is he listening to Beyonce?
Say my name, say my
He
name.
comes in with he's very excited about the blood magic. He's like, finally!
Yeah.
You figured out how to get me in here. Blood magic.
Isn't it
That's all I
interesting
wanted, Mom.
how...
He just wanted a mom, and he wanted his mom to be a mom.
I find it so interesting the character kind kind of contrast between these two guys, because you have the mother who really just is a little bit all over the place all season. She doesn't know what she really wants. She says she's for Ichabod. Now she's kind of really flipping in this episode. But it's interesting that this is her son, but he's kind of being the mentor in a way to her, as if he's like the father figure for Katrina at this point. Because you need to come to the dark side.
Why does every villain that Stephen does sounds like Bane? Every villain.
That was more general.
That was like a really
Emperor Palpatine kind of. Yeah, come on. Bane sounds like this.
All right. There you go.
So at this point, Katrina is kind of on the fence. He's kind of discussing his plans with her, and we finally get a plan that's not bring Moloch back. And I'm excited about this plan.
Because it's not Moloch's apocalypse anymore.
I know. It ain't his. It's Henry's apocalypse.
Lyndie, I'm curious, as someone that was behind the scenes, and as you were seeing this season go forward, were you guys waiting for certain characters to go evil? Or did you have senses of it behind the scenes, like this person's going to go really bad, or they're not? Because you've sort of seen it back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe you always hope that you will be the one that can go evil.
All right.
I think it'd be so much fun to just turn evil. But yeah, we have a little bit of knowledge of what's going to happen. We don't have too much, and things always change. So it is always a question like, who's going to turn evil? Who's going to die? I kind of thought that Katrina was going to swing that way at some point. I mean, I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes her, at least now we sort of get to see the power that she's sort of been lurking under the surface for so long. It was just misdirected, and now we see why.
It makes more sense that she was at towards the head of her coven. It makes a lot more sense now when we're like, oh, she could do things and kill people.
Cars and...
Yeah, and stop cars in their tracks going 50 miles. Yeah,
do some time travel. Why not? Felt like it.
To that point, when you kind of know what's going on a little bit, was there a difference and was there a significant change? Because there was a point where the writers have written and they filmed everything, and then they got the fan input, and then they were able to take that into account when filming the second half of the season. Could you see kind of the direction that your character was going, and did you notice a significant change when they kind of went that way?
Did they do a rewrite? I guess that would be my question.
Well, there are rewrites all the time, absolutely. You're getting rewrites, just right before you go on set. But yes, the general direction of the show and my character, it changed. I think it's hard because we shoot a lot of episodes before we get fan response, obviously. So we can't really change it on a dime. But one of the things that I couldn't help but be a little bit proud of this year was that the fans didn't think Jenny Mills was being used enough. And so I think the network heard that and the writers heard that. And they started to add a little bit more Jenny Irving story, which is what people seem to really respond to.
Frangenicky Merlvin.
That is Steve's favorite ship. That is his favorite ship name.
He doesn't need that wife. He doesn't need no daughters. It's like, how is my wife and kids doing? They're doing fine, honey. You coming with me.
I can't help. I do have to say, though, that hug at the end was so suggestive. I was like, oh, this is the moment that they came together. And I know all of the fans who have been, shipping that was they were like, that hug was so suggestive.
Man, it so wasn't meant to be. It's just an awkward angle. You know what I mean? Like you're shooting, you're just like, how do I get in here? Hey pal, how's it going?
What's kind of interesting is, I'm gonna flip this around. What's kind of interesting to me is that in season 1, we had 2 really strong female leads. This was not really unprecedented, but it was not really seen on TV very often. So we have these 2 strong female leads, you and, of course, your sister Abigail Mills in the show, and Nicole Beharie, of course. And you had just such rich storytelling without bringing in too much of that relationship mumbo-jumbo. And in season 2, it feels like most of the conversations have been, oh, I ship Jenny and Holly, oh, I ship Abby and Holly, and it feels like they moved more towards that, and I feel like now that we're moving away from that, we're getting a lot richer story.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't even think it was intentional, but I think that we fall into, just as human beings and as, groups, we just fall into sort of patterns, and I think that Sleepy Hollow pushed a lot of boundaries last year, and then this year to sort of keep things going so well with ratings and to keep things popular, I think it kind of fell into this sort of safety, this sort of safe way of telling a story that we didn't really do last year. Last year it was like the sisters were enough, you know.
Yeah.
People loved that story. You didn't need to bring in like, oh, a love interest for Jenny or what, you know. But, and I mean, people love that stuff too, and that's great, but it's really nice to see the fans respond with such intelligence and say, like, look, no, we don't need these, like, cliched stories. We had some really interesting, groundbreaking stories that we want to get back to. And I think I'm really proud to be a part of a show that's listening to that and trying to rework itself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Very much so.
Yeah, I mean, we got some of that sister dynamic back in the episode where you guys dealt with your mother, and mother. And so that was such great fun, and that was sort of like where we got hooked on the show was in there, and like the great performances that you guys delivered.
Oh, thank you.
So I do have to ask though, and I guess we're getting on kind of a tangent here, but I'm just excited to have you in studio. Recently, Katia Winters did tweet out like she works with what she's given kind of thing, like basically kind of semi-apology to the fans, semi-vague, and I don't even take it as a dig against the show perhaps. I just feel like, is it kind of hard when you do get so many fans that are obsessed with it and care so much about it that there are a lot of negative tweets? Like, is it difficult to work with? Like, is it difficult to handle that?
I mean, consider this. Our jobs as actors, we put all of our emotional selves into these characters, and you can't help but become personally attached. And when someone, every week, you're getting just slagged by everyone, like, I hate Katrina, get her off the show, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think it eventually is just going to affect you a little bit, and I think probably Katia is just a little bit, you know, frustrated at hearing people hate her so much all the time.
I think it was probably like now seeing where she's gone in this episode. It was probably she's like, just get to episode 17.
Just wait.
It's gonna be fun, you guys. I swear.
And it's true. I mean, it's like you do work with what you've got, and that's not saying that it wasn't that Katrina's character was lacking anything necessarily, but it's just like, you know, how do you, I guess maybe you deal with that being a villain in any, I've never actually played a villain, and I think that would be so great. And the more people hate you, maybe the better you're doing.
Listen in, if you want to give Lyndie a job as a villain, she's here. She's ready for it.
I am so ready. Yeah, I mean, I understand Katia's frustration, and I hope she was pleased with this episode because she did an amazing
Phenomenal.
job. Yeah.
She does Crazy Eyes really well.
Yeah, I know. We were roommates in Wilmington. Trust me. I know.
I actually, the moment where Jeremy Henry and Katrina come in and face Ichabod, and they're like, okay, no, this is our team. We're gonna bring the witches back with these bells. That moment of decisiveness and that them as a power team is really awesome. So when he died at the end, I was bummed. I was like, no,
I know.
we just got this power team.
So you know what I like about this though is it's difficult because it brings the time travel aspect, which is so difficult to play with in
trust
writing.
me. Yes,
like I believe the writers' room was just probably hitting their head against the wall several times because they'd come up with a script and then be like, "Oh wait, but this, no."
Yeah.
So I like the fact that it could bring back the possibility of having the Dark Wizard or Emo Raiden from the other episode,
as Steve calls him, Emo Raiden.
Emo Raiden. I think he could possibly come back on Katrina's side in the past. I think she'll be scoping out previous characters from the past to do things, and we might even see the love interest for Ichabod that Katrina had a vine trip and have her fall over a cliff. I mean, it opens the gate. Like, one of our main complaints with season 2 was that they would introduce characters then kill them off, but some of the most interesting characters were technically from the past. So I'm really excited that we have this whole roster of characters we can bring back in a new light.
We could get Michelle Trachtenberg back in because she's around at this point.
Yeah.
As Mrs. Adams.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
and
because she only had that one. Yeah, Jefferson.
I mean,
and maybe they can resurrect, what was her name, Carolyn?
No, she's in the future.
Oh, but she's in the past.
Wait,
You can
Carolyn.
go in the
Oh, wait,
past
no.
and save her.
That's right.
Yeah.
As long as time travel is introduced, there's all kinds of possibilities.
There's all kinds
The
of
problem with time travel, to be honest.
But,
yes.
but as much as that, like, I loved that twist. Was I the only one that when they're like they're like getting ready to ring the bell and they're talking
wanted
about
them
a
to
coven?
ring it.
Yeah, I was like, ring the bell. This sounds
Yes.
great. Like, start a coven in Sleepy Hollow. Like, get like half the town to be witches. That sounds cool. It's like you start playing to this like X-Men style story with like, look, you have like a bunch of people who they're people. They are American citizens born here. They have every right, but they now have these abilities and they don't know what to do with them. There's fertile ground for a great story there. They did ring the bell, though.
They did.
It was only a couple times, so could that have activated a couple?
So
half witch.
I think that's an interesting thought. That is an interesting thought that some people could be permanently activated from the ending scene where they rang it enough times. I thought she was going to ring it, then go to the past or something like that, but that, I guess, wouldn't make sense. I feel like the writers were deciding, like, do we want season 3 going this, or do we want it going here? Or we might even end up back in the present at the end of episode 18, in which they ring the bell again.
Well, we have characters in the present. It's just Abby and
Jenny
Katrina.
and Frank and... Yeah, we have tons of characters in the present. So Henry rings the bell in the center of the square in Wilmington. I guess supposed to be Sleepy Hollow. I don't know if they were supposed to be in Sleepy Hollow still or not.
Yeah.
The bell?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in Sleepy. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah.
That's where the witch meetings were.
So
the bell was wrong.
He rings the bell. A few people decide to choke their boyfriends and break some electricity stuff and throw a guy 50 feet for running into him on his bicycle. And Henry kind of pitches this idea to Katrina that's, you don't need to do this. You don't need Moloch's apocalypse. We don't need this. Like, the only reason I'm here, the only reason I survived and saved you was because we can bring our family back. Because the coven is the family. Henry's sole purpose is to have a family. That's his goal that he tries to get out of every scene, but it's very difficult when you've killed a lot of people and done some pretty effed up stuff, because he's evil, as we go back to. So what did you guys, when they first introduced this plan, what were you guys thinking? Because I thought it was really interesting. I was excited at the prospect of lots and lots and lots of people being awakened.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunities for storytelling that it offers, especially coming towards the end of the season, and we get one more episode sort of like dealing with the immediate fallout, but then it would give season 3 something completely new to play with, where not just like one like different monster a week, but like you're dealing with an army of people that are maybe on your side, maybe not, and that has a ton of different directions it could go. A lot of fun opportunities, and I think that's what I really latched onto at that. Although the moment that we time traveled back there, I'm like, I see a totally different season 3 that could be equally as awesome, set in 1781. We just got to get Jenny back there.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if we keep Abby in the past, and then we have Jenny and Frank being the ones trying to get them back to the present. And even if Jenny and Frank are the only people who are aware of the changes happening in the present caused by whatever they do in the past.
God, there's so much going on.
And perhaps Jenny turns into a villain. There you
Just for you.
Here, I'm writing it in right now. I'm going to send this to Orci. So once we basically decide, Katrina decides, hey, you know what? This sounds pretty good. And Henry's like, you're kind of giving up everything that you worked for. Or she's like, yeah, I'm kind of giving up everything I've ever even thought of. And he's like, I know. That's what I just said. And they do it.
I have to say, though, I love John Noble playing Henry, his "I hate you, Dad" face every time. Oh my gosh, my mind's just blanking. Ichabod comes on screen. He has the most sour expression on his face.
It's the biggest frown I've ever seen.
The best. And when they stood in front of him, and Ichabod was just like, "What's happening?" His whole life is being like turned upside down, and she's just like, yeah, I'm sticking with him, and he's basically, Henry's there like basically saying, I don't need a dad. His frown was epic. It was the most epic frown I've ever seen.
I don't need a dad.
I don't need you, Dad.
That's so funny because John Noble does not frown like that in real life. He's like the kind of the smiliest, well, smirkiest man I have ever met.
Does he ever stay in character and do something just to mess with you guys? Or?
Not for long, but yeah, he does have a very intense face and voice, so if he does try to mess with you, it's very jarring at first, and then you realize, oh, that's a joke, I pray. And, but no, he doesn't. He's generally quite nice and doesn't mess with you too much.
So let's time travel over to Team ICHABOD here with going to they go and try to investigate what happened there. They kind of find the bell, and they're like, oh, it's modeled after the Liberty Bell, which I may have cracked. You cracked the Liberty Bell? A little bit. And we find that these bells were all cast from the same mold, and they had the power to awaken the energies inside of people with the blood of warlocks or witches or coven blood. And so they decide, and we get this funny little past clip of Ichabod like breaking it by taking just a pack of black powder and then using
and then putting it in the box.
Yeah, putting a
and
decoy.
using a dummy decoy.
Yeah.
Oh, Ichabod.
So they decide, hey, you know what? We're just going to destroy the new bell. Great idea. And they go and they get Steel Flint, but he can't find Steel Flint. We get a great scene at the Home Depot, the
That
local
is
Home
a great
Depot.
scene when he asks the guy who's like shelving things, where is your flint? And he's like, I don't know what that is.
Well, there's
Like Flintwood Mac? Like, is that a spin-off band? What are we
oh, is
talking
that a
about
band?
here?
Flint and Steel, is that a band? It's like, I think you underestimate how much better things back were there compared to some of the modern eccentricities of this world. Ooh, batteries. I feel like that was improv. Like, I swear to God.
I don't know. I wasn't there that day, but Tom does. He does improv a bit. I mean, mostly it's in the writing, but there are certain things that certain actions that he makes that aren't written in.
The
and they're usually
bobblehead,
great.
maybe? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yes. All of that character. Yeah, for sure.
Is there much?
I remember one where he was. Why were we were eating burritos or something? I can't remember why we were doing that. Oh God, sorry. There's so many moments that I can't remember when that came up. But anyway, he came back for another bite of the burrito, and it really added to the end of the scene. And it was not written.
Is there a lot of improving on set, or is it just mainly Tom messing around?
Really, and even when I say Tom improvises, he doesn't like throw you a line that isn't in the script. It's not really that kind of show, but he'll improvise his own action if he has the space to do so.
so of course you guys, or Abby and Ichabod, are trying to build another bomb to blow up the Liberty, or I'm going to just call it the Liberty Bell.
Do it.
The Coven Bell. And
Bell.
they decide that they have to take the bell, which I don't know how they got the bell in the first place, out of the square, down to that area.
It was pretty central, and people, Jenny just ripped it.
Jenny just ripped it out and ran with it.
I
and
sense a deleted scene.
Speaking of which, I know this is kind of like a side thing, but do you have a lot of stunts in particular because your character is like a badass mofo. Do you do any sort of like stunt training or?
I don't do stunt training. I did martial arts for a long time, but I don't really train anymore, although I'm thinking of starting again. But when we're on set and we're doing these things, I always have a stunt double, Bethany Levy. She is amazing, and she's so great at teaching me how to do things safely. So I do as much as I can, but every now and again I'm like, oh, that was, if I watch the episode and it's like a really huge fall, that was clearly Bethany.
So with that, we get a scene down in, they're trying to move the bell, and you get shot at, and we get Frank Irving looking like Deadpool, kind of. He's got a sword on his back. He's got a gun. He's all in like tactical black.
Where did he get a samurai sword?
Maybe Hitaki from Helix
Wherever
lent it to him.
Headless got his machine gun.
I know.
Fair enough.
Satan. The power of Satan.
Evil people can just get guns in this
Headless
town.
got it
Didn't
from
he
the
have that sword
Hellfire
at the
Club.
like from the
Because he had
beginning
the
of
sword
second
in the,
half of it? Yeah,
yeah.
he's had that since then, but I can't.
It's just very funny. He's like Deadpool in this in a way. And so Jenny is the one to go take him down. She had earlier talked about the Gorgon's head, which I didn't quite understand this, where she's like, we can turn him to stone. It's like, okay, but how does that really help? We can turn him out of stone. Okay, but how does that really help?
Well, turning into stone would help in the sense that he's no longer like actively shooting at them or trying to kill his family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny wasn't a fan of using that plan until Abby and Crane told her that, well, no, it's fine. We can just turn him back into not stone afterwards.
that head, so that obviously can't be a practical. So are you holding like a ball or?
Well, actually, it was this awesome burlap sack filled with these weird, like, bulbous gear type things that moved a lot.
That's
so
awesome.
it actually was really creepy. It looked like a bag of rats. But it wasn't going to turn anyone into stone, actually. But it was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm always curious about those kinds of effects when I watch Sleepy Hollow, because Sleepy Hollow does have a certain level of practicals that they use, and then you have something like that, and you're like, okay. Well.
Yeah, and then the Gorgon head itself actually was beautiful. They constructed one for sure, and then they add effects to it afterwards. I think, man, I had a picture, but I think I took it off my phone. I gotta
tweet it out.
I'm so sorry, but I will later. I'll tweet it out and I will at you guys.
So at this point, Jenny goes and chases Frank off, and then we have Katrina.
She shot him, though. I mean, when I was watching that episode...
Shot the heck out of him.
Yeah, I was like... Because, I mean, Frank's already died and come back to life, but at that moment... I guess even in the back of my head, knowing, okay, he's evil, he can't really die, I was still like, that's still shocking, because she didn't want to shoot him in the previous episode because he's her friend, even though she knows he's evil. She knows it. And in this episode, it's just like, okay, well, I got to do it.
I think to make this sort of circumstance work at all in your mind, you just have to understand that Jenny, like, does not want to shoot Frank, because she believes that he is able to come back from this. Like, that's just the bottom line. She really, really hopes and prays and believes that he's able to come back.
Well, he threw up his bulletproof vest later, apparently.
I felt like that was the Terminator, like the Terminator 2 Judgment Day Terminator. When he stood up, that was the image that I'm like, he's gonna like shoot his arm out and just like catch Jenny.
It was very like 80s horror movie chase scene though, with like Jenny Mills, where are you? Come out and play. All I could think about doing that. I totally forgot what I was going into with Frank.
Well, at the end of that whole thing, they're in the in the room with the head, and I thought at that moment that he was going to be like the darkness like spilled out of him, and I thought you were going to Jenny would still freeze him. Yeah. And then it's no, he was free. We got rid of all that. Oh no.
And then Jenny was like,
We find that he was tied to Henry's soul. So he's not really tied to like purgatory or anything. It's really just because he's tied to Henry. It's like he's a thrall then, basically. He's not dead, he's just being controlled by magic, so it's a wizard spell, really. So he is still technically human, I'm assuming.
Well, but he did die, so I wonder if that has any lasting effects. So even if Henry no longer controls his soul, which that actually says, like, Henry's pretty dead. If that's a pretty big confirmation that Henry's gone, if he's let Frank's soul go. I wonder if there's going to be any lasting effects on Irving being on Earth but dead.
I think they have to follow up on that a little bit.
I mean, there's so much to follow up on.
And I think we might find out next episode.
There's a lot to follow up on.
When you were shooting Orlando Jones several times in the chest, did you do one take where you're just
not Irving, Orlando Jones?
Did you do several a take when you're just like, yeah, make 7-Up yours?
Oh my god!
I couldn't resist, guys. I'll take full pun jar on that one.
Yeah, that's a jar. That's not even a pun, but it goes in the jar anyway. We have a pun jar because we had that. We're up to 50 cents a pun. We're up to like $38.
Wow.
And last year,
it was like 53.
We had a trivia question last year, which was, what is the ship name for Frank and Jenny? And
it was Frangenic and Merlving.
Frangenic and Merlving. And they tweeted it, and then whoever tweeted it was entered into the pool.
If you say it with passion, it almost sounds like you're throwing up.
Frangenic and Merlving! Oh, it does!
Terrible.
Meanwhile, in the Town Hall of Solitude, we have Ichabod, and I kind of skip the timeline here. Really, they throw something at them.
And Abby get trapped.
They get trapped, they run out, and that's when they go to the Home Depot to build the bomb, and now we're back when they have this big fight scene. So Ichabod decides that a full frontal assault is what the best plan of action is. And if you guys want to talk about this full frontal assault, the first thing you need to do is to go to iTunes. That was the worst segue I've ever done. Let me just say.
Yeah, there's been worse.
Speaking of words, iTunes. Guys, one way you can help us out here at AfterBuzz TV is by going to iTunes, downloading, subscribing, and leaving a comment. But what's really important is giving us those 5 stars. 5 stars keeps the podcast searchable and keeps all of us very happy and allows us to get great guests like Jenny Mills.
No.
Lyndie Greenwood.
I'm kind of flattered that you think I look like Matt Barr.
You're much more attractive.
Stop.
Guys, she drove for 2 weeks straight just to get here. There's no other reason why she drove to the West Coast, aside from some other reasons.
Yeah.
This is the only reason.
Mostly this, though, yeah.
But let me pull up the iTunes reviews really quick, guys, because there was a few, but you know what? I'm disappointed in you guys, in the fans, because we've been at 149 or 249 reviews for the past day, and I've been like, I want to get that 50.
Just give us another review so Steve doesn't have to cry at home about the unevenness of it.
I've seen it. It's not pretty.
I'm gonna cry anyway. All right, so today is the 17th, so anything after the 10th, let's go to, oh wow, This Podcast is My Life. I love the enthusiasm of each host, and I look forward to the show every week by GZTH. All right, show now deserves renewal. Tapping along. So, a great episode for season 2, episode 16 took us all back to what we loved about this show circa season 1. And almost no Katrina. She brought her on strong at the end, and it had all the episode elements we love. All right, Scandalous by Duxton Guard. I'm losing my head over how amazing. Thank you for the pun jar. Over how amazing this podcast is. The only criticism is how Purgatory Prom has not gotten a sequel, and how everyone still calls it Purgatory Prom when 1, everyone left Purgatory because the party sucked, and 2, everyone knows Hollow Homecoming is after every prom. Then we can finally have my dream shipping Rays and Holly. Try getting that out of your head.
We have to explain this, though, because Matt
You're so lost right now.
Matt Lieberman, who used to be on our panel, wrote some Sleepy Hollow fan fiction, and he read it on air. And the Sleepy Hollow fan fiction was a Corbin-Katrina ship in Purgatory, because they were both dead at the time during season 1, and they had a prom there. And so we've been trying to relive the glory of Purgatory Prom. But if you guys have some other Sleepy Hollow fanfic you'd like to share, we'll read it on air.
I never went to a prom, so I don't know if that.
Put Jenny in, what was their suggestion? Hollow Homecoming?
Hollow Homecoming.
Put Jenny in Hollow Homecoming.
There you go.
Get her a Letterman jacket. And
I do want to move on so we have time to talk to Lyndie, I'm sorry.
It'll come.
Yeah. But shout out to Nikki Rocks #1. The show
just give them their names.
Yeah, and
names.
Court 0624, the best ending ever. All I have to say is last night's episode had the best ending ever. Abby and Katrina are going back in time was surprising. Totally the best ending. Keep up the good work.
Oh, cool.
So
I'm glad people liked it. That's awesome.
Fans are digging it.
Yeah.
All right, so we get the fight. This is the fight of the courtyard where Ichabod lures Henry out, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot you, Henry. You're not going to do that, Peter. Oh, sorry, I went French for a second.
You're very confused.
I'm severely confused.
No, but I mean the whole both of the fights that we got here, just like sort of combine them because he can stop bullets now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess he's harnessing his witch powers, but then I guess he can only stop one at a time.
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, it was that second one that really shined because it said so much about where his character has gone. Like, because he was very dark and very self-serving, I guess, when he was under Moloch. Mm-hmm. But now he doesn't stop the bullet coming for him because he knows that if he does, he'll let the bell explode and he'll ruin the coven.
Yeah, he does it for the coven. He takes a bullet, and unfortunately, it's a Greek fire bullet. But there was a great scene there when they tie him up. Everything's going for naught. They're going to burn Abby to death, and then they're going to burn Ichabod to death. Pretty dark stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, not your average Monday. Maybe it is your average Monday. I don't know. If you're sun double, that happens. Mm-hmm. So they have this little scene where Ichabod's like, oh, guess the modern marvels of butane didn't work, and she's like, well, I do have steeled flint. Oh, snap. Get it out of my pocket. We're going to cut this rope, and then we're going to light this stuff up because he's got 2 flintlock pistols wrapped because he's armed to the teeth. Mm-hmm. And then we get Henry getting shot, and that was just such an interesting dynamic between 3 characters for a scene for a character's death. Because it's really unexpected how Henry reacts to the situation, but I don't know if he's smiling because Ichabod and Katrina are there, or if he's smiling because he knows this is going to set Katrina on the path that he wanted her to be set on.
Yeah.
What did you guys think?
I do. I think he was smiling because he knows that it's set on Katrina's set on her path, and it's interesting because this moment for these characters kind of cements their fate going forward. So Ichabod and Abby had, until this point, kept talking about how they needed to start working as a team, and it had happened where either one or the other of them would kind of falter, and they weren't exactly being the team they should be, and they kept saying, we need to make sure that this is it, that we can trust each other, and that we're the first priority. And this was that moment. It's like they worked together as a perfect team. They were able to kill Henry because they made a plan that only works as a team. Mm-hmm. I knew that moment when they killed Henry. I was like, that's it. Katrina's just evil, because there's no way you kill someone's you kill someone's son like that and have them come back. There was no way she was going to come back from that.
Yeah, this is like a random thought that I'm having, but it's crazy theories, and you guys know I'm not going to hold back on those. What if this was all... Henry is the horseman of war, potentially in life and in death. What if the coven is his way of sparking a war on Earth to start an apocalypse?
I could see that.
I mean, maybe we find out that he's technically mortal because he bleeds when the glass hits his face. So I think we're all kind of assuming that he's dead at this point. But if you also think of it, he burned away. So he burned away like a demon as opposed to a human. I mean, so that might not have actually been him.
Yeah, Andy was dead too. He came back. I'm just saying.
And the thing is, with time travel, anything is possible. So we know that Katrina said at the end of the episode that she wasn't going to let Henry Jeremy alone this time. So we can look forward and see that she's going to at least try to save him, so he might be alive in the future that they go back to.
And when that scene was being shot, someone farted really loud, and just cracked up laughing. It was pretty funny.
This is the 1781 scene, or
it's where Henry actually
died.
Oh my god, so good.
It was amazing.
Can you say who was responsible?
No, God, who would admit to that?
Everyone's just kind of looking at each other.
So Henry dies, and Ichabod's he's not too sure what to think. It's his son, but he's evil, but he's his son, but he's evil, but he's evil. And Katrina is just like tits crazy at this point. She just goes all out like, all right, it's over. Like, sorry, you just killed my son. I'm going to just open up this gigantic tornado.
Quantum leap time.
After throwing you guys against a wall and crushing Ichabod, it feels like The Grudge, like the Japanese Grudge, when all the bones just start breaking for no reason. And I'm just like, what's going on with him? Is he just going to be slowly enveloped into a ball of Ichabod that's just a bloody mess? And then we have to bring him back from the past, and that's how we get Ichabod back in the present? But no, he survives, but Abby jumps after Katrina, and they end up in the past.
I love this moment too, because I've said time and time again on this show that Abby is like our main POV character. We started with Abby and her story, and so whenever we go along with, we've been going along with Abby, so whenever we don't have her as a main plot point, it feels weird. So I like this moment because it's like it had to be Abby to time travel because she's us, so we get to time travel with her, and I also think it's going to be interesting to see how she kind of navigates this world. I liked her first call where she's like, okay, I gotta find Ichabod, so I will only speak to Ichabod.
Yeah. I think it's a really interesting situation. I'm really happy
Yeah.
with where the writers took this because, I mean, it's so bizarre. Great. Now we have this,
A lot of people were really upset when spoilers came out of the fact that Abby would be back in time. They came out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Somebody released spoilers. I tried to avoid them as much as possible. Somebody
wow,
literally
I got lucky.
Somebody just literally posted them on our video saying Abby ends up back in time and is confused for an escaped slave, and we're like, thank you, you ass. But people were really upset because they're like, well, now you're taking the strong female lead and then you're putting her in this position, blah 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 blah. Like, can you speak to that at all? Like, do you think people should be offended at anything like this? But I think it's just great because she plays it off like, this can't be real right now.
I mean, I don't know, be offended by it. I mean, it's just like the reality of what would happen if you traveled back in time. as a a woman of color, I think it could raise some really interesting issues that you could spend a season on. I don't know if that's really what's going to happen. Like, if we're going to address those, it's hard with network TV.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you really flesh out these issues? But I mean, is it offensive? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think as long as you treat the character like a strong woman, like a strong person, then it's not offensive. It's just you're playing to the realism of history at that point. The insanity of how you got there aside, it's still how somebody would be treated at the time.
I agree with you guys. I'm just going on what the fans have commented. For some of them, not a lot, of course.
Right. And I mean, I guess I'd be open to the discussion more, but I really think that you can't just like pretend that wouldn't exist.
I agree. Yeah, because it wouldn't be realistic if she was back there and everyone's like, "Oh, who's this? A time traveler?" Blah blah. It'd just be over the top. So moving on to the final scenes of the episode, Abby is arrested, thrown in jail, and to avoid them just leaving her and having her see a judge, which would probably end in a hanging or something like that, she says, "I have a way to sway the tide of war, and the only person I'll talk to is ICHABOD CRANE." Sleepy Hollow.
I love that they took the sympathy for the devil and turned it into like an old timey sympathy for the devil. I was like, you do that, Sleepy Hollow. You go there. I was so jazzed because that was the song we had in season 1, so it has that kind of nostalgia to it.
I call that right. God, I missed that. You actually pointed it out, and I was like, oh yeah, shit, that's awesome.
It took me hearing it twice. It's cool.
Fine.
Sorry.
It's totally fine. So I'm going to say right now, guys, go ahead and send us your fan questions in the chat. We'll take a few of them while we're wrapping this up. We got another 5 to 10. And, so go ahead and send. There's a 30-second delay, so I have to tell them now. Also, hit that thumbs up. Do it right now. Hit the thumbs up on the video, or I'm going to go Henry Parrish on your ass and get shot in the head, or shot in the chest and die.
Jeez, please no.
That's what I'll do.
Please no.
With Greek fire.
I have a season 1 question for you.
Okay.
Because your character is in Terrytown in season 1, and she's kind of painted as a crazy person. And Abby has not spoken to her for a long time, so she doesn't really know that she has this history with Corbin where she's actually been training. Did you know that your character, because we're not revealed about that backstory until later, did you know that your character had that backstory going into it, or were you just given like crazy sister in institution?
I was given nothing.
Oh, jeez.
Really?
Yeah, it was really an interesting journey, season 1, because I knew no more than, the audience. Well, I knew when I got the scripts, but that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Did you enjoy evolving from a character who's just very mysterious and angry to kind of more part of the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to add some layers. I mean, it's hard, actually, to stay so one-dimensional, really. You kind of just can't avoid throwing more stuff in there, even if they haven't written it. But seeing Jenny grow and interact with characters in different ways and different aspects of her, and the humor that's been coming out, it's been really great.
Did you work with any of the writers or the producers as you sort of developed the character and you started putting your own thoughts into it? And did you sit down with them?
No, haven't really sat down with them, but when they give me the script, that's when I sort of decide what to do with Jenny, and I feel like it's collaborative in that way because I don't think they have any idea what the process is that I'm going through, but there are certain decisions made on my end that I think they pick up on and therefore start writing in that way, or writing for that.
So I have a question about an episode from this season, the episode entitled Mama.
Which is a big fan favorite.
Big fan favorite, because it was one of the first times in season 2 where we got you and Abby together with a very powerful emotions going back to the family history that you all have. Were there any difficulties filming that episode when it's been a while since you guys had filmed something so emotionally stressful together?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good, it was difficult. It was challenging, but in a good way. It was really cathartic because I can't speak for Nicole really, but I know we have spoken about it before. We both really love this dynamic between Jenny and Abby, and we were both craving this kind of work. So finally being able to dive into it was great. But yeah, we could have. I mean, it was like really diving into it. At the beginning of the season, we really had nothing together. So. I think we would have wished for maybe a little bit of a build-up to that, but it still was. I think it turned out really well.
How did you get involved with Sleepy Hollow in the first place?
I auditioned.
The answer is usually that.
The answer is easy.
They asked me to send in a tape. I think I had just finished my first trip to LA. To get my work visa. I'm Canadian, so I had to get a work visa, and that had all just worked out. And then I had just gone back to Toronto, maybe 2 weeks there, and they asked me to send a tape. I did the tape, and they asked for another one, did another one, they asked for another one. I think I did 4 tapes or something before they brought me down to Wilmington to do a chemistry test with Nicole. And then that's that.
You aced it?
I don't know. I mean, there might have been another, who knows who they asked first, and she said no. I'm not really sure.
You win, so that's all that matters.
I'm not sure if I aced it, but I'm here now.
We have a fan question from Elijah I-41. Would you like to see Abby and Jenny explore magic and witchcraft? I'm assuming them using it, since they have an ancestor that I believe we were sort of hinted at was a witch, since she was at the coven. I don't know if that was confirmed.
Well, and it's like they're reading the book, and the book has spells in it, so there's a little bit of a question there.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Short answer, yes. I'd love to see that. I think that Abby and Jenny could do a lot of really cool stuff together, and you throw some magic in there, who knows what could happen.
Does Frank's family have witchcraft? Because he mentioned Frank's family, Frank Irving. Do you know if his family has witchcraft? Because when she was like, when Jenny and Frank were like shooting at each other, he mentions that, oh, my family's gonna like come back or whatever, and I wasn't sure if he just meant because they don't know where he is, or if they meant because they're gonna come back as witches.
Yeah, I can't speak to that really. I mean, there are 2 possibilities. The way he says that, it's like, no, it's in their blood. It's like their witchcraft line, or is it the like evil that's in him now?
Yeah.
As you know, that's their blood. So it's kind of hard to say which way he meant that.
Interesting. I wonder if because his blood would tie to his family. If he sells his soul, does that somehow forfeit part of his family or his bloodline in the process?
One question that everyone in the chat's asking. I can't shout out one person because everyone's asking it. Will there be a Sleepy Hollow Season 3?
Oh. Does anyone know? Can someone please tell me? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard a lot of, most likely. But we're still waiting to hear. Trust me, it's infuriating. I'm very much in the dark right now of where my life is going to go. So
fingers crossed. If what I've seen in the past is any answer, they'll probably announce it like Monday morning to get people to watch the show, watch the finale live. Like, oh, there's gonna be season 3. I better go watch.
yeah. Oh, that's clever.
And then, did you go to Comic-Con?
I did.
What was the reaction after being on a show like this and going to Comic-Con?
Oh my god, the best! I had such a blast at Comic-Con. Awesome. I mean, I really like that kind of thing anyway. I'm a genre fan myself, and so it was kind of. I've always wanted to go just like as a fan, so to go there in the position that I was in was pretty incredible. The love you feel in that room with the panel, oh my god, and the questions. I mean, it was just so great. Really, really a great time. Can't wait to do it again.
Season 3.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be getting a season 3.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time.
But I traveled for 2 weeks to get here.
You hear that, Josh? You hear that, Josh? That's not worth anything to you. We're staging a sit-in, a Sleepy Hollow sit-in, right after Homecoming.
Until Sleepy Hollow is renewed, we won't leave this studio.
Lindy took 2 weeks. She battled demons, monsters like you've never seen before.
Mono.
Oh no.
No, nobody had mono. I don't know. That just came out.
I think we've said our predictions throughout the show. I think it's time to wrap it up, which just sucks because I really am glad that you were able to come in. Me
too.
We've been trying so hard to get you guys in here, but as you do film in Wilmington, it's a little bit difficult sometimes. But we want to thank you so much. Go ahead and shout out some fans. Shout out your Twitter. Where can fans find you?
Oh, you can find me at Lyndie Greenwood on Twitter. It's Lyndie Greenwood. My Instagram is Lyndie Lou Who, Lyndie Loohoo. And I guess that's just about it, unless you happen to find yourself up in Toronto in the snow anytime soon when I'm up there visiting.
Do you have any other projects you're working on, or just focusing on Sleepy Hollow?
There are some projects coming up, but I cannot say 100%.
Sleepy Hollow Season 3.
Well, follow Lindy's Twitter to see where her projects are.
Please do.
Zach, where can we find you?
You guys can follow me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, ThatzachWilson. And a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. We got Agent Carter tonight, and a bunch more throughout the week.
Jackie?
At 123 Jackie_B on Twitter, at 123 Jackie B, all one word on Instagram. I'm also most likely filling in on the Heights Hype panel again.
Woo!
Yay.
All right, and you guys can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, StephenLemieux, as well as on the Better Call Saul panel here at AfterBuzz. Take a second, hit that thumbs up button. Really helps us out a lot. Go to iTunes, subscribe, leave us a comment, and hit us up on YouTube.com/AfterBuzzTV and subscribe. All we ask, we put on all this great content. We bring you such great guests, and that's all we ask in return. So you better do it. I'm just kidding. Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week for the Sleepy Hollow After Show here at AfterBuzz TV for Season 2, Episode 18, the finale!
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Good night, sleepyheads.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.